morning everyone, it's Carol here at Oak House Journals. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're all happy and well. Please excuse the attire. When I'm playing in my craft room with inks and spray paints and the like, I tend to get it everywhere. So I have a working smock and that's what I'm wearing today because I was playing with some distress oxide sprays earlier and true to form, I've got it everywhere. So please excuse that. I've put what I was doing earlier to one side to dry, but I would like to do my Margarete Miller assignment for week 6 whilst my earlier project is drying. So I've got the piece of white card that I usually work on and I've got my prompts here. Now I'm going with a military theme today simply because one of the prompts is a photo of your family or a family member. So I'm going with this gentleman here, and I know he was in the RAF, so he is going to be my prompt number 5, a photo of a family member. The first prompt is an object hung on a wall. Well, I'm going for a piece of clothing. It could be hung in a closet, could be in a hat box, but I'm going with a little bit of artistic license, and I'm saying that this hat would have been hung on a wall, and this is an RAF officer's hat, so I've got that. A piece of ribbon, and again continuing the military theme, I've got some ribbon bars here. Now ribbon bars are small pieces of ribbon that are attached or sewn onto a metal pin or a piece of felt covered with buckram, and they are generally issued in place of medals. So I've got one here that is fairly large, the same one, but to a different scale. And I've got this little one here which still needs cutting out because obviously you can see it's still on its background. The third prompt is transportation, and I've got here a quirky sketch of a Spitfire because you've guessed it, this gentleman was in the RAF and look where his hat has gone. Now that's by chance. Yes, okay, well I could actually do that. I wasn't planning to, but I could actually do that. It's a little bit big for him and it's at the wrong angle. But yeah, that's a possibility. So as I was saying, yeah, this gentleman was in the RAF and he was a Spitfire pilot in the Second World War. Prompt number 4 is something sharp, and I'm working on the basis that this family member was a sharp dresser or a dapper dresser. So I've got here a lovely overcoat, which again could technically be hung on a wall if I wanted to double up on that prompt. And finally, a form. Well, this is a vintage form which relates specifically to this gentleman, and I'm going to be using that on my piece. So let's get started, and as always I'm going to put my prompts in front of me there, pop these pieces to one side, and I'm going to use this form and I'm going to trim it down and I'm going to put it on my background. So I'm going to go away and do that, trim it down, glue it onto my background, and then I'll come back. My form is glued onto my piece of cardstock. I decided that I could do better than this line drawing. I quite like how it looks on here. It's a shame to cover up that writing down there, and also there's a date saying March 1917, but I was thinking that that really is going to spoil it with everything else I've got going on in terms of colour there. So I went on the internet and I've come up with this image of a World War II Spitfire, so I'm going to be using that. So the next thing I want to get on is my cap, and whilst I did quite like how quirky it looked on there, it's all at the wrong angle. So I'm just going to go with that across the corner up here. And I was thinking of putting his jacket underneath like that, have the cap on there like that, maybe pull this down a little bit. And I know the jacket is going off the side, so I need to pull it across a little bit more like that. And then I thought I could have my Spitfire down the bottom here, maybe something like that. And again, it's going off my frame, but that's okay. I've got these. Now I'm going to cut this one out because I was thinking he could actually wear that. And then I've got 3 lots of red, one in the cap and on the plain and that. So I'm going to cut this one out. It's a little bit big for his chest, but I could trim it down even more. A little bit fiddly, but I think I can do it. So as you see, it's much longer than it needs to be. I'd like to get that hint of yellow in there, which picks up the yellow on the Spitfire and also on the emblems on the cap. I think I am going to have to lose that, that little bit of yellow. Okay, I'm not so sure I'm liking that now that it's on, but I can always rely on these pieces if I want to. Now this piece, I thought, this one's got a medal here or some sort of metal emblem, and I thought I would hide that, but I like the yellow again, or the goldy colour up here, matching the ornateness on the cap. So I'm thinking something like that. I think that's more or less how I want this piece to look. So I'm going to go in and start gluing. So I'm going to glue this piece in place to start with. Have that lined up with that line down there. I'm going to bring in this and centre it more or less on my page. I'm liking that I can get the date 1917 in that corner if I play my cards right. I'm going to take this little piece away. I'm not sure about it, so I'll have to revisit that in a moment. I'm going to glue my plain. I now need to decide if I am going to put this on. So I think I'm going to put that on there like that. So let's put a little bit of glue on there. Now I'm wondering whether to use this. Let me just have a little play before I call it a day. I'm wondering whether to tuck it down in here. And actually I'm quite liking that. So this is what my page looks like now that it's all glued down, and the tiny little piece of ribbon band I've just put underneath the tail of my Spitfire there and the wing, so that, same as I did yesterday, it looks like it's going all the way round. And I should really call this a day. I'm tempted to go in and stitch, but then I'm always tempted to go in and stitch, so I'm not going to do that. The only thing that I'm not liking too much is this corner up here. Now, it is supposed to look like a hat hanging on a wall, but I feel like I need something up there. I've lifted out my little pot of decorative brads, as you can see, and also I've got some buttons in here, and I've just been playing with these on my page, and the best one I think is this little one. And if I use one of these brads, then it would hit the prompt for sharp along with his clothes as a sharp or dappy dresser. And I'm thinking that this might work. So let me just open out the pin so you can have a little bit of a look. And it is slightly domed, but I was thinking I could pop it in the corner there. And it almost might look like a lapel pin as well, and that would tie in with being a dappy dresser. Wasn't so sure about this one. It's small enough, but it is slightly domed. If I hold that up to the camera, you might be able to see. and that obviously is going to add bulk to my journal. The other one was I lifted out one of these buttons, and as you can see there's a star on there, and then they've got a metal shank on the back, and all I did was cut off that metal shank and then use my Tim Holtz little decorative hammer here to hammer it flat. And if I turn it over, you can see what it looks like on the reverse there if I hold it up to the camera. Now it's not pretty on the back, but it is flatter, and with this being metal it would glue onto here if I use glossy accents. Not sure if art glitter glue would work. It might do, it sticks most things, but I know that glossy accents will work. So I was wondering whether to put that up there like that and have it half on, half off my hat. And I'm still sort of, the jury's still out on whether or not to do that. It works in terms of blending with the colours of my photograph, the background, and also of my plane. It is perhaps a little bit too dominant because it's dimensional, even though I've tried to flatten it down, and I can't flatten it down any further. So I've decided I'm not going to use this, but I still feel that I want to do something up in this corner. So I've pulled out some other bits. I've got here a Union Jack heart, which I thought could maybe go like that, so that it's half on his lapel and half off. And we've got more red and more blue tied in, but again I think that's not quite working. And the other option was one of these, and I was wondering whether to use that up there. It softens that corner. It's half on, half off the lapel, and the colour tone is right. Even though it's slightly adhesive on the back, I am going to put a little dab of glue on the back. And I'm just going to pop it in place. And there we go. I think I'm going to call that a day for today's collage. To quickly bring in the prompts and go through those, an object hung on the wall, my RAF officer's cap here, a piece of ribbon. Well, I went for ribbon bands, so I've got a piece down here, a piece in here, and obviously his band on his jacket here. Transportation, I went with this World War II Spitfire plane. Something sharp, well, I went for sharp in terms of a sharp dresser or snazzy dresser, dapper dresser. So I've got this nice jacket down there. A photo of your family or a family member. Well, I've got this family member here, and a form, I've got his original form in the background there. So that's my piece for today, everybody. I hope you like seeing this one come together, and I hope you like the little backstory with this one, albeit you don't know all the details, but you know enough. You know that this gentleman was a member of my family. He served in the RAF and was a fighter pilot in Spitfires in the Second World War, and yeah, he was pretty much a smart dresser back in the day. Obviously not with that coat, he obviously didn't fly in that plane, and these obviously weren't his decorative ribbon bands, but it kind of gives you a little story of his life. So thank you so much as always, everybody, for watching, and I hope you'll join me for assignment number 7 tomorrow. So until tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your day, keep smiling, and bye bye from me.